Welcome to Proverbs 31 Creatives. My name is Brianna Coleman. I'm so excited for this new chapter in my walk with the Lord. My goal with this podcast is to encourage other women to grow their creativity, entrepreneurship, finances, life, health, and most importantly, grow closer to Jesus. I'll be having conversations with guests with anointed women in faith and learning right along with you. Are you ready to start your journey to become the creative Proverbs 31 woman you've always wanted to be? All right, let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Proverbs 31 Creatives. I'm your host, Brianna Coleman. I hope you guys have had an amazing week so far. This week has been so much fun. My husband and I just celebrated 2 years of marriage. It feels like it's flown by, to be honest. I guess they say when you have fun, time flies. We were just actually reflecting the other day, and we were realizing, obviously, we are very much adulting, obviously, with us trying to buy a house. We are not just teenage beach hippies anymore. We go to Costco for fun, and it's just crazy how times have changed. But I would not change a thing. He is genuinely my best friend, and I am so blessed to call him my husband. He supports me in everything that I do. He encouraged me to start my business as a social media manager, start this podcast. He is my number one supporter, and I am very blessed because I know that there are other women out there that are married and unfortunately do not have that. So I definitely do not take that for granted that I have such a support system right next to me. It's so important to have somebody that has your back no matter what. Especially in business, you're going to have days where you want to give up. I need that voice in my support corner that's going to encourage me when the days are long and there are tough days and there's ups and downs and all the kind of stuff that comes along with running your own business. And so I'm very grateful that the Lord blessed me with him as my husband. For today's episode, I did want to touch on money. I have been talking about this for so long. I've been saying it for a while, and today is finally the day that is going to happen. This is an area where I struggled for so long, and it is so important, especially as strong kingdom women, that we are stewarding the blessing that the Lord gives us well. And my husband actually plays a huge part in my money story. And early on in our relationship, we started talking about money. I think we both knew that we were going to get married, even very, very early on into dating. And so we wanted to set that foundation early. Obviously, we didn't share a bank account when we were dating or anything like that, but it was something that was very openly talked about as far as spending, as far as debt and credit card spending and reckless spending and mindfully spending. And it was a very open conversation. And that was one thing that was always complimented when people were around us, was they would compliment our communication skills with each other. Like I said, even when dating. And actually, fun fact, he was my first and only boyfriend. I went out on dates with obviously other guys, but I never was in another relationship. I met my husband and that was it. The rest is history. So maybe I can convince him to come on the podcast at some point, but we'll see. He's an active listener and of course a supporter of the show. So maybe one day I can convince him to come on and you guys can meet him. But my money mindset was so bad when I was young. I had such a scarcity mindset. I thought about money in a way like if I spent it, that it was not going to come back to me. So subconsciously, I thought that I was just going to, run out of money. And so because of that, I put everything on a credit card. I would rack up the credit card debt just to pay the minimum payment, because 9 times out of 10, the minimum payment was cheaper than the item that I was buying. So I would just rack up the credit card debt and continue to just pay the minimum payment. And that is such a toxic cycle. It's a rat race that you feel like you are burying yourself in the sand in a large hole. If credit card debt gets out of hand, it can feel like you are in the weeds so much and there is just no getting out of this pit that you've put yourself in. I didn't know how to handle money. I did not know how to properly spend on a credit card. I didn't know how to get out of debt or manage the money I currently had, so I did not get into debt. And before I go any further, I did want to put a disclosure on this. Obviously, I am not a professional financial advisor. I am not licensed to give any advice. I am not a financial expert. I am just going to be telling you my story, share what I have done to get myself out of the financial pit that I put myself in, and share the money habits that I have changed, the money mindsets that I have changed, and what has worked for me. If you would like financial help, if you have questions, I do have some amazing women in my network that are actually licensed and legally able to help you with your financial questions. So reach out to me. You can reach out to me at proverbs31creatives@gmail.com. You can send me a DM, whatever works for you. Feel free, you can reach out and do that. Now let's get into it. Between the years of 2018 through 2022, I racked up $30,000 worth of debt. And just thinking about that makes me want to vomit. Between credit cards, lines of credit, personal loans, debt consolidation loans, I racked it up, to be very just blunt and honest. 2019 into 2020, I was so determined to make my network marketing company that I was working for. I was so determined to make that business work that I quit my job prematurely. This is red flag number one. I should not have done this. And again, this is why I'm telling you this, so you can learn from my mistakes. But I quit my job prematurely because I was starting to get some momentum in my business. And I told myself that if I quit, I would have more time to work on my business and I would make more money, and it was a good investment, time investment, all the good things. So the checks were so up and down that some months that my monthly income would be, say, $3,200. The next month it would be $4,000. The next month it would be $1,400. So I mean, it was all over the board. The money that I was making was so inconsistent. It did not help my stress levels, didn't help my anxiety. Not knowing if I could pay my bills that month was so stressful. And I'm not going to say which company, obviously, but during that time when I was working for my network marketing company and solely trying to make that work, I decided it was a good idea. I got desperate, honestly. I got desperate and I thought it was a good idea to open up a credit card. Applied for a credit card, and this credit card company pre-approved my barely 20-year-old self with a $6,000 limit. And at the time, I was jumping around praising the Lord that I had a $6,000 line of credit with this credit card company. But looking back now, that was the worst thing that could have happened. Things went downhill very, very quickly. Between the $6,000 credit card limit, and I had just hit a new rank in my network marketing company where the average income was supposedly $5,000 a month. I took that average income disclosure that was reported and ran with it, thinking that I was guaranteed to make $5,000 a month, which that was the furthest thing from the truth. But I took that and I decided, oh, because of all the stress that I've been under, I need a $50 a month massage membership. No, I'm not kidding. Yes, I wish I was. But if that goes to show you anything, that's how poorly I managed my money. Because I had available credit, I thought I was good. I thought I was okay. And I could just continue to swipe until the cows came home. I was still swimming in debt, but I felt like I needed a massage to take the edge off of my stress. Why was I stressed? Because I was in debt. I could barely make my rent payment, but I decided that because I had the available limit on that credit card, I could afford a $100 Shein haul of 20 bathing suits for the summer. Obviously, since I lived in Florida, I also lived in a bathing suit. So I felt like that was necessary. But why did I make that purchase? Because the minimum payment was below $100. And I'm like, girl math, before I knew what girl math was. And the minimum payment was cheaper than that $100 I was about to spend on Shein until it wasn't. I remember getting my first minimum payment over $200 and my stomach sank. It was a realization. It was such a wake-up call, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay this? I don't know what to do. My first hard lesson I had to learn when managing my money was truly, if I do not have that money sitting in my bank account right now to be able to go pay cash for something, I should not put it on a credit card. Credit cards are not of the devil. They are actually fantastic tools if you use them correctly. Right now, in present day, my husband and I, we put everything on a credit card. But we also pay our credit card statement every single month. We pay off the card. They're fantastic tools to build up your credit score. There's so many rewards, there's points, there's cash back. There's so many different options. There's travel credit cards if you travel a lot for work or anything like that. They're fantastic tools if you know how to use them correctly. Another huge reason, and I tell all my friends this, I tell anybody that will listen, is that a credit card safeguards you. It's a safety net, essentially. One wrong move with your debit card, whether it's a sketchy website that you don't know, or you go to pay for gas at the gas station with your debit card and that gas station pump is tapped. Well, now they have your debit card number and they can wipe your bank account clean. If that same situation were to happen with a credit card, I make one call to the credit card company and I say, hey, I just saw this fraudulent charge on my card. Can we pause my card, send me a new one? No harm, no foul. It wasn't me. But if that same thing happened with your debit card, I had this one girl that I went to high school with. Her entire bank account got absolutely wiped out and it took weeks for her to get that money back. So she's living weeks on end with absolutely zero in her bank account. A lot of times a credit card company will call you if they see suspicious charges. There's a lot of companies that will do that for you. I remember my mom, she was at home. I think she was cooking dinner and the credit card company called her and asked her, I know it was a tropical destination, we'll say Cancun, for instance. And they asked her, hey, are you in Cancun right now? And she goes, unfortunately, I wish I was, but I'm not. And so they had to shut down her credit card because her credit card number was stolen. It's a safety net for you to swipe a credit card. I say swipe a credit card or give cash. Like, I truly don't believe in debit cards simply because of this safety reason right here. But back to what I was saying. Once I saw that high minimum payment, I tried to do basically damage control. I started making returns. I canceled the massage membership. I made a list of the different monthly bills that I had in my phone. This was my first step of looking money in the face. Instead of hiding from it or trying to avoid it like the plague, or trying to avoid the dark overlooming cloud that I had over my head, I finally looked and saw the damage that I had done. I started picking up Uber Eats. I did Instacart around St. Pete. I could go and make $200 on a Sunday just by doing grocery shopping for people around the city. I tried to do a debt consolidation loan at one point to try to lower my monthly payment. That worked for about 30 seconds because once I had actually paid off the credit cards with the money from the loan, I went back and racked up those credit cards again. I did the debt consolidation in 2021. And at that point, and I've said this before, my bills were $2,300 a month, and I was only making $2,500 a month at the tanning salon. It wasn't until 2023, when we had the unexpected blessing in disguise of living with family for 9 months, this time frame was when I truly started working on my money beliefs, my strategy to get out of debt, my thoughts towards money. I started working with a therapist / life coach on this, and it honestly was an underlying personal battle of worthiness. I felt like I was only worthy enough of making the little money that I did, but this time frame truly shaped my feelings around money, my thoughts towards money, and my money habits. During that 9 months, I had such a transformation. I was able to pay off $20,000 worth of debt in 9 months living with family. I became so disciplined with money that it is now a very different story in my current day. I established many principles for myself, many disciplines, but just to name a few, I established a budget, my wants list, my spending tracker, but most importantly, I gave God the first fruits of my paycheck. I tithed. There were times when I was really struggling with money that I would tell myself that I could not afford to tithe. But now I can't afford not to. I have seen the goodness of God come through financially time and time again. Why? Because I have something called tither's rights. If you tithe to your home church, you have something called tither's rights. And I'm actually going to read, it comes from Malachi 3, verse 10 through 11. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. And try me now in this, says the Lord of hosts. If I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you such a blessing, that there will not be room enough to receive it. Tithing is bringing back your first 10% of your income back to the Lord. That money is not yours to begin with. It's the Lord's. He blessed you with that. You are simply just giving it back to Him. None of my bills get paid before I tithe. Tithe first, then the bills get paid. And somehow that 90% covers more than enough than that 100% ever could. I've seen it over and over and over again. Economies may fail, but I have a bank account in heaven that shall never cease to exist. Proverbs 3, verses 5 through 10. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones. Honor the Lord with your possessions and with the first fruits of all your increase. So your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will overflow with new wine. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I typically would not do this, but I'm in the middle of recording this episode and I just received a text message from my realtor that that the house we want, it's only been on the market for 4 days and it has no offers. We just submitted our offer. So I am just praying that everything happens. I'm giving this to Jesus. So right as I finished reading Proverbs 3, verses 5 through 10. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. This is so full circle because of the money principles I'm talking about right now. The Lord has blessed us in such a short amount of time, and I'm so grateful. But this is what I mean when I say tithers' rights. I'm not saying that life is going to be perfect, because the Lord doesn't promise that. But when you trust God with your firsts, he will provide. And actually, I just had something recently when I mentioned in a previous episode, I got into a minor little accident with my car. And unfortunately, the insurance companies did deem it as my fault simply because I made a U-turn in an illegal area, but I had plenty of room to make the U-turn. I would not have done it if there was anybody around me and I did not have the plenty of space to be able to make that U-turn. I lived in Florida for 6 years. U-turns are legal. I'm basically a professional U-turner at this point. Everybody I tell this to, and I tell them where it happened, and the kid hit my backside. Everybody I tell this to say that he, number one, should have stopped, and it should not have been my fault, but I digress. So I get off the phone with insurance companies. I was on the phone with the kid's insurance company. I was on the phone with mine. They deemed it as my fault. Thankfully, it happened in Kentucky, and Kentucky is a no-fault state, so I did not get a ticket. But because it is my fault, I just have to pay my deductible before, obviously, any work can move forward with my car. So I get off the phone with the insurance companies. I'm realizing that I have a $500 bill that I was not expecting. I prayed and I asked God, and I'm just going to be very honest with you. Yes, I literally told the Lord, yes, I can afford this right now. Yes, I could pay this. However, I have a trip at the end of the month, and I was not expecting to pay this $500 bill. I said, Lord, I know you're going to provide somehow, some way. I just kind of left it at that. About 30 minutes go by, I get a phone call from my naturopathic doctor. I double, triple checked to make sure I didn't have an appointment before I answered the phone, because that would have been really bad. But I didn't, obviously, answer the phone. They said, unfortunately, one of our doctors is not coming back, and you had purchased a package of visits to see her. Obviously, since she's not coming back, we wanted to refund you that package. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, great. Just out of curiosity, how much am I going to get refunded? She said $538. I literally got out of my chair. I started dancing. I told her everything that had happened with my accident and the $500 bill that I wasn't expecting. And she's like, she's the sweetest girl ever. She's pregnant right now. And she goes, oh my gosh, I'm too pregnant for this. She starts crying. I start crying. It was a Jesus-filled moment. She is a very strong Christian as well. And so it was just incredible to share that with her and encourage her faith. And so it was just really, really cool to see how quickly the Lord moved in that. But once I got tithing down, I began to see an increase in my pay. Divine favor would come into my life, come across my path. My commission at my jobs would be higher. My hours would not get cut, but they would increase. Overtime opportunities would present themselves to me. My husband really helped me look at money like there was nothing to be scared of. If I didn't look at it, there would be bigger issues down the road. I sat down and I wrote down every single debt that I had. I wrote down every amount that I owed. Once I saw it on a piece of paper, it was easy for me to make an action plan to help get out of debt. I used the debt snowball method, which is fantastic. I could not recommend it. I would just use like a Google sheet or a Excel spreadsheet, whatever you want to use. Some financial advisors may tell you to do a debt snowball where you pay off the highest interest rates first. However, I argue that you need to pay off the lowest amounts first, knock those out, get some momentum, get some motivation, see that you are paying off debt, and you will want to continue. If you try to knock out something that's, say, a bigger balance at first, even though, yes, you are paying more in interest, it's easy to get discouraged versus knocking out the low-hanging fruit at first. I completely stopped reckless spending. I've explained the wants list before that I've created in the past. But basically, it's a principle and a discipline that I created that whenever I wanted something, no matter how big or how small, I put it on my wants list. I still have it in my phone. This is something that I go to. My birthday's coming up. So now I go back to my wants list. When my family asks me what I want for my birthday, I can go to the wants list and tell them point blank, this is what I want. If I did have a little bit of money left over, I would go to the wants list to see if there was something on there that I wanted to buy. And I would start to see things that had been on there for quite some time that over time I realized I'm like, hey, I really actually don't want this at all. And they were things at one point that I wanted so badly, but now it's like I could care less if I had them at all. If I would have bought those things, they probably would just be sitting around my apartment collecting dust. But then at the same time, there are also things on there that I have wanted for over 2 years that are still on that list, but they are not a priority on my money goals right now, not where my money is headed, so they just continue to stay on the wants list. It essentially stopped impulse spending because I made myself really think about it for at least a month before purchasing something. I saved myself so much money just by waiting before spending. I just said this last podcast, but I said God blesses the righteous monetarily so that they can be a blessing. Deuteronomy 8:18, and you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth. God may give you a business idea that you can use as your ministry. We need kingdom people in the marketplace. Business leaders that have the goal of lifting up the name of Jesus and expanding his kingdom. I encourage you to get on the right path with your money if you are not at the moment. When God trusts you to steward your blessing correctly, that is when you will see the fullness of the abundance that God will provide for you. Pray and ask God for guidance and strength, and for him to show you where you can grow and what areas you need to improve. But one thing I will add is my money mindset changed when I went from chasing money to chasing Jesus. When I switched from how I was going to hit this income goal or how I was going to grow my personal wealth, when I stopped chasing money and started chasing Jesus, I began to have peace beyond understanding. I began to have fulfillment in life. I love to work hard and see personal growth, but that's not where my value is. Nothing will fulfill and nothing will satisfy like the love of Jesus. Chasing money will leave you so empty, but chasing Jesus will bring you so much joy. Money is just a tool that the Lord provides to help us expand his kingdom. So I just want to leave you with some key takeaways from this episode. Number 1, make sure you are tithing to your home church. Number 2, get on a budget. Number 3, assess your monthly spending. Number 4, write down your monthly expenses versus how much you are making. Number 5, pick up a side hustle if you need to or if you can. Number 6, control impulse spending. And number 7, Pray and ask the Lord for clarity and guidance on how you can steward your blessing even better than you are right now. I hope this episode blessed you today. Share this episode that would help a friend. Share this with another Proverbs 31 creative. Let me know if you guys like this type of episode. I love talking about real life topics that align with biblical principles. I hope you guys have an amazing week. The best is yet to come. Have a great rest of your week, guys. I hope this episode blessed you today. If it did, please rate and review the show. It helps grow the podcast to reach more Proverbs 31 creatives just like you. Don't forget to follow the show so you'll automatically be notified when the next episode drops. I'll be praying for you. See you next week.